These stories appear in Wednesday's Bozeman Daily Chronicle. They tell of 19-year-old Promethea Pythetha, a young woman known for being a child prodigy. She was the youngest person ever to graduate from MSU at just 14. The Chronicle says notoriety she received attracted the attention of an elderly Florida man, Thomas Kairos, a man who came to think of Pythetha as his adopted granddaughter. Chronicle reporter Gail Schonsler says in her report, Kairos had been calling the paper for a few years. He had discovered Pythetha through a magazine article. In his calls, Kairos said he wanted to liberate a young genius trapped in bondage, a slave to her mother, Georgia Smith. He accused Smith of keeping Pythetha from an Ivy League education. Schonsler says he sent Pythetha thousands of dollars, contacted her regularly. The relationship started well, but slowly collapsed. Pythetha said she was being harassed. She began returning his money and severed ties with Kairos years ago. A police report dated January 12th of this year says Pythetha approached a courthouse dispatch window. She said Kairos had come to Livingston and she didn't feel he was safe. In fact, she said Kairos was in the courthouse at that very moment watching her. 5 days later, 911 heard from Pythetha again. She said Kairos had shot her 54-year-old mother about 6 times with a small pistol that fit in his hand. Officials say when Park County Sheriff's deputies responded to 50 Outlaw Hill Road, Kairos waited in his black pickup at the gate to the property. Kairos turned his gun on the officers and they shot him dead. Smith remains in stable condition at an undisclosed Billings hospital. Speaking with managing editor Nick Eli, he said several of his reporters had been fielding these calls from Kairos, the latest one being last week after a year absence. But Eli says while the calls seemed obsessive, they did not contain threats of violence or plans to come to Montana himself. In Bozeman, I'm Dan Boyce for Montana's news station.